Greetings War Thunderers, this is Longshot with a look at how the F4U 1A performs in arcade in patch 1.53. I first made a guide to flying this plane way back in May 2014 when it was an underpowered energy fighter with an excellent loop, mediocre rudder and poor high-speed handling. All of the Corsairs have had a variety of flight models since then, and all of them have received a new flight model in patch 1.53. In fact, here's what the patch notes have to say about the changes. So although I'll be concentrating on the Marine Corps 1A in this video, what I show here will apply to the other Corsairs as well. As always, I'll start with a brief test flight. Its best climbing speed is around 250 to 260 km an hour, which is around 155 to 160 miles per hour or 135 to 140 knots. From a 2,000 metre spawn, it can reach around 4,000 metres in 2 web cycles, which is a 300 metre improvement on the old version and quite decent for a plane rated at 3.0. Let's look at its roll speed, which is fairly fast, although with a slight pause before changing direction. Next I'll test its turning ability using elevators, looking at whether it can catch its smoke trail and how well it retains its speed in the turn. The circle looks fairly large, but it does come reasonably close to catching its smoke, which makes it a fairly good turner, but not a great one. As I hold the turn, its speed is stable above 300 km an hour, which is an improvement on its previous flight models, some of which slowed it right down to 240 km an hour in a sustained turn. Okay, I started this climbing spiral at 2,840 metres. It'll gain almost 1,000 metres before the web expires, which is very good indeed. The rudder, however, is not quite as strong as the elevators, which have lifted me into a fairly steep climb angle. You definitely do not want to dogfight planes with strong rudders, such as BF-109s or Yaks. It can possibly defeat a Yak in vertical manoeuvres, but not a 109, definitely not a Spitfire. So you've got to adjust your tactics according to the opponents that you face in this plane. There was one thing the Corsair used to be extremely good at, and that's turning in the vertical. Even from a starting speed in the mid-200s, it could perform tight, fast loops that many other planes would struggle to follow. That's certainly not the case now. It can still loop, but it's nothing special. Anyway, I'll continue the dive and roll the plane to see how it handles at high speed. It slows down a little over 500 km an hour, a bit more over 600. It's once you pass 700 km an hour that it really starts to tighten up, but still doesn't lock up completely. And it can track the mouse fairly well, even at extreme speed. I'd rate its high-speed handling as above average now. Okay, vertical zoom climb test. I started the climb at 630 metres, doing a bit over 800 km an hour, and I'll reach 3,200 metres before it drops below 200 km an hour, and I normally look to level off. Instead I'm taking it right up into a stall hammerhead turn. And its turn speed here is fairly average, but with flaps it quickly snaps to the mouse cursor and responds well to the elevator as I lift it up out of the dive. Its low speed handling has definitely improved. This is now a far more versatile plane than it used to be, and it's quite obviously received quite a boost to its performance, which is also much better over 5,000 metres than it once was. Alright, let's take it to battle. I'm using a 400 metre convergence distance, and I've chosen the Omni Belt as it has the highest proportion of armour-piercing incendiary rounds. The plane usually spawns at over 400 km an hour, and I'm going immediately into a steep climb to convert that speed into altitude. As the speed drops below 300 km an hour, I'll lower the nose a little and then gradually settle down into the sustained climb speed around 260 km an hour. And there aren't many climbers in this battle. I'm the only one on my team, and there's just a single enemy P-51 who's climbed. He side climbed for a while, and I obviously couldn't risk ignoring him, so eventually I decided I had to run him down. The last thing I want is to be boom and zoomed by a P-51 when I least expect it. I really do like the new rendering system in patch 1.53. I can easily see what this guy's doing, flying away from me and trying to climb. Also looks like he's quite low on speed. I expected him to turn for a head-on, so I'm going to approach him at high speed, look to snap roll and then engage him in a dogfight, but it looks like he's simply given up, flying in a straight line with smoke, so this is an unexpectedly easy kill. You don't get to choose your opponents in random battles, I guess. Anyway, I was now much higher than I needed to be, so I flew in a shallow dive back across the battlefield. And nobody else looks like climbing yet, but 2 bombers have spawned in. Yes, it seems Christmas has come early this year. I expected them to dive, neither of them did, so I'm going to pick off the Focke-Wulf 200 at the back first. The Welly will probably assume that he's safe and keep flying straight. Note that after this 180-degree rudder turn, I'm still doing well over 500 kilometers an hour. More than enough to quickly chase down and dispatch the hapless Welly. Okay, so the Corsairs' energy retention is definitely far better than it used to be. However, I can't use it as a high-speed interceptor right now, as there's a yak below me trying to snipe while hanging from his propeller. He stalled his plane, and while I didn't get the kill, his engine died soon after, and he wasted a lot of time landing for repairs. And as I'm right in front of the stream of incoming enemy fighters, it'll be interesting to see if other players will now try to climb after me. Turning back toward them like this is quite aggressive, but I want them to think that they can reach me, and that won't happen if I just fly away from them. I still have plenty of speed after that zoom climb, and Immelman as well. Okay, the Corsair below wants to climb. I'll climb myself and then rudder turn while I wait for him to stall, and then drop in from above for a shot at the full profile of his plane. Then continue on to pick off the climbing F6F. He tries to turn and face me, but I'm closing in far too quickly for that. And while I zoom climb, the fire will do its work. As in patch 1.53, US fighters still aren't fitted with self-sealing fuel tanks. This thing really can zoom climb now, still doing 300 kilometers an hour as I level out near 3,000 meters, and down goes the Hellcat. The Corsair in patch 1.51 had similar maneuverability and high-speed handling. The main difference is this increased energy retention, acceleration, and speed at altitude. I now feel far more confident with an F4U playing this harassing role above the stream of incoming enemy fighters than I ever did previously. And here's another potential victim, a 109 trying to climb up to me, although I gave him a little too much space, and he's going to have time to split S before I get within shooting range. All I need though is a lucky round to set him alight. Not this time. Okay, I might extend away and reset properly. Sometimes if I get too involved in attacking planes beneath me, I find I can lose track of what's happening elsewhere, which makes me vulnerable to side climbers. There's one chaser, a P-51, over whom I have a sizable energy advantage, and he's quite close. In fact, he's the Hellcat pilot from earlier, but it looks like that B-25 is going to draw him away from me. Yep, there he goes. But wait, can it be? Yes, it's Christmas once again. To a Corsair, bombers are a gift that never stops giving. These guys should have dived the moment they saw me, but they didn't. The Henkel will try a belated dive, and the 200, well, I guess he knows he's a free kill and there's not a whole lot he can do about it. But they knew I was up here. Anyway, the plane has just enough elevator authority to lift up and quickly target the 200. Of course, I'm hoping that 2 more bomber kills like this will give their fighters more incentive to keep climbing after me. Although I'm nowhere near the airfields, every plane I distract and hopefully shoot down is one less contesting the runways, which hopefully makes it easier for my team to win the battle at low altitude. But right now there's a bit of a lull. Nobody's taking the bait. Now, I could pick out a target for a boom and zoom attack, but I'd much rather pick off a climber, as stalled planes are much easier to hit with a long stream of bullets. Is the 190 climbing? No. How about the 109? I've shot down 2 of his bombers, he wants revenge, and yes, here he comes. I'll just spiral climb and let him lose his energy, but a B-25 has spawned in. I'll see if I can finish off the fighter and then catch the 25 on the zoom climb. Goodness, it's just a 109B. This really is clubbing a seal. Now where did that B-25 get to? He's not where I expected him to be. Ah, he's faster than I thought. I'm unlikely to run him down from here, but I'll give it a try, and I might chance my luck with a few long-range shots. It only takes one bullet to start a fire. No luck. I now have the choice of either following him in a low dive or letting him go, and that's what I choose, although in hindsight I should have chased after the bomber. You'll see why. Instead I have an LA-5 climbing at me, and he's going to occupy my attention for a bit. I've grown overconfident and I've stopped looking around, and that's going to cost me. He stalled his plane, but I'm a little late diving to attack, and he'll regain a bit of speed before I reach him. Though I do manage to start a fire, which unfortunately he'll almost immediately put out. Okay, time for a proper look around, and it's no surprise that a P-51 and a Focke-Wulf 190 have succeeded in climbing up to my altitude. I shot down the P-51's Hellcat earlier on, so he'll see a red skull beside my name, and I have no doubt he'll come looking for revenge. If this was a realistic battle, I'd keep away and climb to build an altitude advantage, but it's arcade. There's usually no time for that kind of thing midway through a battle. Instead, I'm looking to face him and avoid the inevitable head-on, and then look to engage him in a dogfight where I should hold the advantage. He's dropped into a shallow dive to gain speed, and here he comes. A quick burst, then a snap roll. Now the question is how to exit the snap roll. Do I Immelman, which will give me the advantage if he turns as well, or should I split S, which will give me a shot if he tries to extend away? As you can see, I've gone for the split S, and on this occasion it was the wrong choice, as he's lifted up and will quickly have position for another attack. Things are definitely not going to plan, but if I can keep out of his guns, I should gain the upper hand soon enough. On this next pass we'll be nearly in a head-on, and on the next turn I'd have had a gun solution, except a Focke-Wulf 190 has also decided to crash the party. I have no choice but to ignore the P-51 for now and dodge another head-on attack. And now I really should be diving away and running, except I've been turning with combat flaps, I'm low on speed, and yes, I get what I deserve for my lack of situational awareness. It was a mistake to allow any planes to engage me on an even footing when I'd held the upper hand, but either one of those planes on their own I could have defeated in a dogfight with a Corsair. Against two of them I had no chance. The plane simply isn't good enough turn fighter for that. But all is not lost. I have a backup, and even as I watch those two fighters throw away their altitude and dive into the furball. And that lets me just stroll over to take control at 3,000 metres completely unopposed. However, the game is reaching its terminal phase now. My team's pushing hard to cap the enemy airfield, and it looks like this Wellington's going to try and fly past my teammates and cap my airbase instead. And with my altitude, I'm perfectly placed for a high-speed boom and zoom intercept attack. He tries a bit of an elevator wiggle, but wellies can't take much punishment. He never really stood a chance. There's still plenty of enemy planes in the air, but none of them with any altitude to speak of. Most of them settled into a furball near their airbase, so I stayed on the lookout for any more sneak capping attempts, and I didn't have to wait too long. There's a Zero who thought he'd give it a try. This is another opportunity for a simple boom and zoom attack. I can drop in on a fairly steep angle, as the Corsair doesn't seem to suffer much from compression. I did expect the A6M2 to pull a sharp dodge here, but he decided to stay on target, and once again the fire will finish him off. It's not often that 50 cal rounds actually do physical damage like ripping off a wing. Fires account for most of your kills in this plane. The Corsairs have long been something of a favourite of mine, and right now I can truly say that this plane is under-tiered. It belongs at a battle rating of at least 3.3, maybe even 3.7, which is where I've flown it in this battle. The Canon Corsair at 5.0 is still over-tiered, but it's far more competitive now. It's still strongest at low altitude, but it can be very effective at fast intercept attacks, and can even pull off some energy stall tactics now that it has more engine power and smoother handling at low speed, which was a real weakness of it before. As I showed in this battle, these are versatile, jack-of-all-trades planes, which is unusual for the US lineup, which mostly comprises dedicated boom and zoomers. And in patch 1.53 they're possibly the best they've ever been in War Thunder. I highly recommend flying them. Anyway, I look forward to reading your comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and until my next video, I'll see you in the skies.